Oh man. Oh man. Oh boy, this game. So this is my review for Call of Cthulhu. You can probably guess it's going to be an epic one. We played it on the PC via Steam, completed it in just under 14 hours. And I've been realizing that when I'm doing these reviews, I should probably be given a summary at the start of what the game is about, and I've been neglecting that, so I'm going to try and start trying to remember that part. So yeah, basically the game is set in 1924. We played a private investigator named Pierce that's sent to look into the tragic death of the Hawkins family. And it is a Lovecraft-inspired Lovecraftian horror adventure atmospheric thingy-majiggy bobby bob. And this is the review from yours truly, the Integer. Going through the good, the bad, the ugly, and the score as ever. Let's start with the good. This game has some nice settings, set pieces, and atmosphere at times, in places. I think that these screenshots on the PC look a heck of a lot better than the in-game though, and that's always the case, isn't it? It probably use some Nvidia and sort of business going on there. Just have some interesting mechanic ideas. I notice I said ideas and not mechanics. Mechanic ideas, some nice mechanic ideas in there. There's some good voice acting in there, good voice acting performances, I would say overall. And that's the good. Let's go to the bad. Yes, but it's one of our shortest the goods, isn't it? So the bad, character animations and models in this game look pretty stiff. They look pretty off-key. Some of their faces at times look like they're gonna melt. There's some weird things going on with the models. The models look really weird. The shoulders look off. The proportions look wrong. I don't know whether it's stylized or just failure, but it doesn't look right. And it's not something you can ignore. It's definitely something you'll notice. It's also not visually the best thing you'll see. I mean, it's not even. I don't even think that's the right thing that I've written there. Really, at the end of the day, this game is pretty poor looking for a 2018 game. Let's face it. Doesn't look great. It should look better than that, even for a indie type. Not India isn't the country, but like indie type thing, semi-indie type thing. It looks pretty bad. It looks not for it's not terrible, but it's about average to below average visually. Another bad thing is it's not always clear what your goal or aim is in certain segments. It seems to rely on you dying to figure out what you're doing, and to me that's poor game mechanics. You shouldn't have to die to kind of know what you're supposed to do. You should know what you're supposed to do, and if you die, you die. But if you don't know how to present the problem in such a way that you kind of figure out what you need to do and you just fail to do it, and you should figure out a different way of presenting it or change the mechanics in and of itself so that it facilitates. This is not a Groundhog Day game, so you shouldn't be dying to figure out what you're doing. It's just poor design, basically. Okay, what else do we have? Oh yeah, the price. Now this is something that's coming up quite a lot now at the moment, and I might do a separate video about this subject because I had a little comment in GameSpot on the Zelda game, the Zelda Awakening thing, and I was saying that I feel the game is way too much money for 15 hours of content. £50 for 15 hours of content. And that's even before taking into account that it's a remaster, and it's literally meant to be practically the same thing as the Game Boy Edition release, but just different visual style and one or two things here, and yeah, that's different. But even with not taking into account that it's a remaster, because I'm very, very happy with Resident Evil 2 remake, that game is almost definitely going to be my first 10 out of 10 review on probably for the channel, for as long as we have it, and for as long as YouTube allows. But unless we can put some stuff somewhere else. But this is yeah, the price thing is worrying me a bit, and the bias between people's attitudes between how they perceive Nintendo and what they can get away with in their price and their price fixing versus some of the things that people's expectations and acceptance of how other studios are expected to be, or publishers or whatever, you know. So, you know, Ubisoft might be known for bloat. Nintendo might be known for just giving you exactly what you need, but sometimes it's massively overpriced. And then, you know, it's the likes of a CD Red Project or what have you, as I keep saying, will give you shitloads of content and it's not just bloat. And you're getting way more than what you are paying for. They'll throw in free DLC and then offer you paid DLC that could be full priced, and it's half the price of what people charge full price for and their rights to. So I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? Like that Nintendo at times like the opposite of CD Red Project in terms of like, we're gonna give you like 15 hours of gaming and we're gonna charge you £50. You know, and then you have likes of oh, I'm going off on a tangent here, oh my god, sorry guys, I just realized how long I'm going on this. Let me move on anyway, jeez. Where was we? Yes, the prices. This game's a bit overpriced anyway. Sorry about this. I should be putting that for a separate subject. It's clearly on my mind. Should have some kind of special series for it. This game is massively overpriced in my opinion. I paid £24 for it. I think its retails at £40. I think it is, which I was quite shocked. Yeah, it's £40 on Steam right now. Unbelievable. It's the 24th of September today, 2019. And this game is priced at £40. This game will take you less than 20 hours to complete. No, wait there, we finished it in 14 hours, didn't we? This game will take you less than 15 hours to complete first playthrough. And I'm a slow player, right? So it took me 14 hours, or less than 40 hours. It will take you less than that, likely. Unless you want to play the game again, see different endings, different outcomes. And honestly, I checked all the endings after we finished the game. I checked the endings of the game. Trust me, it is not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. And we already had a whole bunch of ending options anyway, even without playing the game 2 or 3 times. So it really is a one play. It's really not worth playing again, in my opinion, at all. Really not worth it. So once you've done with it, you're done with it. £14 hours, which in my world is power of entertainment. It's £14 worth of entertainment, you know, for £40. And I paid £24 and I still feel like I got bent over slightly. So keep that in mind. It's pretty bad to me. Another bad thing is there's a resolution bug in this game that makes the game look like you're playing a mobile game that was made in the 90s or late 90s, and you stretched it onto a 4K or 1080p screen. It's a nasty bug. You have to go into an INI file to fix it if the bug occurs on your system, and then you have to do this Alt Enter thing, and it messes with the. It's pretty bad. You'll see in the recording if you watch the playthrough, I had some issue with it here and there. Not good. Again, 2018 game. Stop it. Another bad thing is it's difficult to discern whether you should search for things, look at things, or just move, because the game mechanics are kind of inconsistent in that way, or weird. It kind of has a weird habit in this game of punishing you and rewarding you for doing the same thing that at times you shouldn't be doing, but you wouldn't know necessarily unless you were like a hardcore Lovecraft or something. And the irony of all of it really is that in a way, even when you look in a guide after finishing the game, there's a lot of things that they tell you have to do to get certain options at the end, but it's not actually true. And from what I can tell, there's not much distinction between some of the FMVs and what have you and your sanity level. So it makes the sanity kind of system almost useless. So again, pretty bad in that way. And then overall, the final bad thing is the game feels pretty clunky. It just has that clunky feel. And it's not, it wouldn't be a problem, but when you consider all the other things, clunky is just bad when the game's already got lots of issues. If a game is kind of good, like I believe that the Spiders games are meant to be considered that kind of way, like kind of janky, but there's lots of elements that are good, so it kind of works like a janky BioWare almost. This game just ends up being kind of janky because many other aspects just aren't any good. Anyway, that was the bad. Now we got the ugly still. And look how long it took me to go through the bad, apart from my digressing on the whole price to spend to value ratio or whatever. So the ugly is the mechanics lead you to believe your choices have more of an impact than they actually do. from my research, from what I can tell, it doesn't really. We had lots of options at the end there, despite doing a lot of things that they said that you shouldn't do or should do to get the said options. And it turned out in the end that apparently we got like what I would class as the best ending. The default ending is the worst ending, and that's apparently a Lovecraft thing. But our ending that we got is apparently the best ending, or at least I would class it as the best ending. And we made loads of mistakes that we had no intention of making because we didn't know how to make or not make them. Might be because of lack of knowledge of Lovecraft, might be because of bad game mechanics. I think it's probably a bit of both. So yeah, often leaves you feeling like you ain't given enough information to mechanically make choices, and not because you're making a choice that you thought was one thing and turned out to be another thing, like happens in life, but just because the mechanics don't match the, you know, that kind of making clear choices people outside on the back of my video. Shut up. Also, the endings feel somewhat unsatisfying. That was the other thing that's ugly in this game. The ending was, you know, I don't know. I kind of was expecting more for all of, you know, when a game says about decisions and all this stuff, you just kind of expect a bit more. And it wasn't Deus Ex level at all in that way. It was just kind of underwhelming. And when you consider that, the Lovecraft lore thing or whatever is that, you know, there's no such thing as necessarily good endings. And in that way, it kind of can feel a bit cheap. I don't know, because it kind of feels like it doesn't matter what you do, especially when it kind of constantly go on about this will change your destiny. It doesn't really change in the way that you think it does. So yeah, that's my good, bad, and ugly for it. So now we're going to do the score. So my score for Call of Cthulhu is by Cyanide, published by Focus Home Interactive, released on the PC. My score for Call of Cthulhu is a 4 out of 10. I think it's a slightly below average game with many minor and medium issues. It shows potential in places, and it gives you hope in places that something good's gonna come out of it. It's gonna be one of those games that hits a 6 or a 7. But for me, it never quite reaches there. There's some tedious and frustrating parts in the game. I don't know if I missed that in the bad, but that adds as well. There's some real tedious sections, and that's because, again, mechanics or lack of mechanic information. There was another thing as well I forgot to mention, that in the beginning of the game you can spend skill points, and the game decides to not find it important to mention the fact that there's 2 particular skills that you can only spend points at that point at the beginning of the game, that you cannot ever spend points thereafter once you start. It doesn't mention that to you, or if it did, we missed it because no one said they saw as much. We never knew. We were sitting there thinking, why didn't they tell us that? And then again, it's kind of a weird thing again, because you can kind of be punished somewhat for spending points in a particular one of these skills. Actually, it's just kind of, it's just not there. It's just not there. It's just not there, man. It feels like many aspects is kind of half finished. Everything's kind of half baked, and putting that together with the clunk and the disappointment of things, that's why it drops below the average rating of 5 to a 4. So that was my review for the Call of Cthulhu. What do you think? Have you played this game? Did you like it more than I do? Does it matter how much of a Lovecraft fan you are or not, or knowledge for this thing? Are you a hardcore Lovecraft guy or gal and thus absolutely love the game and are a sucker for anything Lovecraft and therefore disagree with the review maybe? Or do you think I'm spot on maybe? I don't know. What is your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you like the review, irrespective of whether you agree with my observations. Hit the dislike button if you absolutely love Lovecraft and don't care about game mechanics, enjoyment, and cost. And share with somebody maybe as well, if someone's considering buying the game. All our reviews are 99.9% spoiler free, and sometimes they're mostly 70% fat free as well, although I did put some fat in there with that whole pricing conversation thing. Again, that's completely different. I'm kind of getting a bit heavy on that subject in all my reviews of today. So yeah, if you get this game, I'll say make sure you get it on a heavy discount of like £15 or less. Don't get it for like £25 or please, for the love of God, please don't get it for £40. Even if you're a Lovecraft fan, don't do it to yourself. You're better than that. You deserve better. That's why you should probably check out my Patreon or something. I'll make you feel better, and that will give you all the Lovecraft you need. The int craft, the int love. That's all you need in life. You don't need Cthulhu. Cthulhu's a bum.